Welcome to the Bible Momming Podcast, where we are parenting by the book. I'm your host, Paula Whidden. This podcast is for women who struggle with regular mom stuff, but also long to have their kids grow closer to Christ. It's a lifetime journey, and we're in it together. As a real mom, you just never know where I'll be podcasting from, but I'll always be available for you. Now let's get started. Hello, mamas. How are you doing this lovely day? I am enjoying my winter here in Southern California, which of course means that I don't necessarily see snow, but we might actually be having fall, right? Actually, yeah. So we've got some fall leaves on the trees, and it just kind of extends into our season. That's how we do it here. And as I'm getting ready for this season of the year, I am just fascinated by how fast decorations go up or how slow they go up, or I'm looking around and seeing the smells. I go into the different stores and everybody's got the, pumpkin spice and cinnamon wafting through everywhere. And that's where my brain goes, 'tis the season, And I thought this would be the perfect time to talk with you about my pie journey. So that is what this episode today is about. Today we are talking about 50 pies from around the country, the pie journey. And that is because, for those of you who do not know, starting around last March, my daughter Bethany and I decided that we were going to go on a pie journey. And what that meant is Bethany she is hybrid homeschooled, which means she goes 2 days to school at a location, and the other days she is working at home. She was studying U.S. history, and part of the homeschooling experience is that we get a little creative with how we put things together, and sometimes it's straight up traditional stuff, and sometimes it is just kind of organized into different formats. A friend of mine was studying the U.S. history with her son, and she was part of a homeschool group where they were doing foods from different states as a way of understanding the different states, and they'd get together and have this big event, and their group was packed out, so I didn't have the opportunity to join them. But I wanted to do something kind of along that venue with Bethany, so I sat down with her and I said, hey, I had this idea, and I told her about it. And now, Bethany has this history of loving pie. And her eyes lit up and she went, well, that's nice, but could we do pie instead? And I was thinking, are there 50 pies from around the United States? I don't even know. Then, as the encouraging mom I try to be, I was thinking, okay, I will look this up. We will see what we can do. And Bethany and we got on our little laptops and started looking into what pies there were from the different states, which was actually really interesting. And it was a little challenging, quite frankly. We looked at pies for each state, and sometimes it was obvious, and sometimes it wasn't. We spent 2 hours the first day just starting to do this. And we have this list that I still have where we had to kind of pick pies and then cross them off, and pick pies and then cross them off, because sometimes we had access to the ingredients and sometimes we didn't. We had to adapt. And if we couldn't find a pie that worked, well, we needed to create something based on other favorites from that state. For example, Rhode Island, I could not find a unique pie, and that was our desire. We wanted to find something unique for that state for the pie. Now, just about every state likes apple pie. Just about every state has some kind of berry pie. And so it was trying to figure out what best fit each state. And Rhode Island is a great example. Rhode Island didn't have anything unique that we could find. I mean, we were looking up pie restaurants. We were trying to see what kind of pies they sold, if anything's popped as different, if it was, it seemed like it was related to things that they had. Could not find it. So what we did find was that the people of Rhode Island love their coffee. And apparently they love their ice cream. And as summer was approaching and Rhode Island was on the docket, I thought, hey, why don't we make a coffee ice cream pie? And so that's where that one came from. It's not like it was uniquely Rhode Island because Rhode Island does it. It's because it was kind of an homage to Rhode Island. And we just went through those things. We went through a bunch of pies. We had a bunch of savory. We went through some that are not savory. And I just want to encourage you, as we were doing this, one of the reasons I'm sharing this with you is that as we were doing it, we started, posting on Instagram, posting on Facebook these pies. And people were repeatedly asking me, hey, can we get the recipes? Hey, can we get this stuff? And so on my website, BibleMomming.com, I've been slowly loading up these recipes so that you can have access to these pies. You'll see our photos, for better or worse, of our pies. I actually had to remake one. It was the hardest one, and that is because I had to learn, because I didn't know this, that there are different kinds of crusts for different kinds of pies. And when you start getting into fried pies, you want more water in it and more flour in it, I guess. Then you want shortening. And I had a very shortening filled crust that I was used to using, which is also on the website. And it was really funny because this shortening filled pie, I went to fry these pies and the crust just crumbled apart. Now, if you are a wonderful chef and cook and all that kind of stuff, you probably already knew that coming in. But before I did all this, I didn't know it. Now I am, 50 pies out. I'm ready to go. I can put down pie with I think at least the best or the mediocrest of them. And so, but yeah, one of the ones, and it's a hard one to say actually, one of the ones that was hardest for me was, I'm going to say it wrong, I know it. It's from Louisiana, and it's called Natchitoches meat pie. I think that's how I say it. If I said that badly and you're from Louisiana, feel free to email me, Paula at BibleMomming.com, and correct my pronunciation. I have tried to say this. I've never heard anybody else say the name, and I've only seen it written and seen spelled out versions of it. So this is, I want to call it a Natchitoches meat pie. And it is so good. Even with my crumbly, messed up crust, it was so good. I had to remake it because I wanted to make sure that I put the right crust on it and did it justice. Because that was a really good one. I didn't think my family. I've got people in my family who do not like bell peppers, and bell peppers are a big part of the Holy Trinity in Louisiana, and not the Holy Trinity, but for Louisiana, the Holy Trinity. If you understand that expression, it's a base for a lot of foods. And what happened is I thought for sure one of my kids who really doesn't like bell peppers would not like it, and she was just telling me, "Oh, that's fantastic! That's amazing." Matter of fact, what we did after we reviewed them, after we went through all these pies, and oh my goodness, it's just crazy. My family rated them. I asked them, okay, and we kind of consolidated and figured out which ones were what. To be fair, after you've gone through 50 pies, they start all seeming alike, but certain ones stand out, and that's kind of interesting when that happens. As we were going through it, we made sure in the beginning, at least, because there were a few savory pies, we tried to rotate savory and sweet. And if you understand part of my story, I am not a person who eats refined sugar. I actually am not a person who eats refined sugar because I was a person who ate way too much sugar. So I only tend to sweeten things now with honey or 100% maple syrup or occasionally coconut sugar. On rare occasion, maybe molasses, but those are the main ones for my own reasons. And I will go into that and have gone into that in other ways in the past, but I would be happy to share that with you at another time. But most of these, what I tried to do, if it was at all possible, and I also don't eat chocolate because I'm a massive chocolate addict, and I didn't want chocolate to be the god of my life. There's only one true God, and chocolate isn't it, to somewhat imitate Captain America. Anyway, as we were going through this, we were trying to figure out different things. We tried stuffed pizza from Delaware, which was awesome. That took a little bit of effort, and oh man, so good. Even just talking to you about it, man, I want to remake some stuffed pizza. We did, of course, we had to have pumpkin pie. There were various cream pies. We had some different meringue pies, and it was quite the challenge to figure out how to create meringue without refined sugar, but I finally did it. I was so happy. There were a couple that I couldn't do. I couldn't, like I said, because I don't eat chocolate, so I didn't try to create the chocolate ones without refined sugar, though I think I understand the principles of it and could give you some ideas on it if you want me to. But the thing that I enjoyed, and whenever it had ice cream, I often made my own version. We had fun with Cornish pasties, and I was rather surprised that Nevada had a history with the Cornish pasty. I knew about it from Michigan. I knew about it from some other states, but Michigan had to have the cherry pie. So as I was looking at Nevada, because of all the mines, they have a history with the Cornish pasties, sorry. They have a history. Nevada has a history with the Cornish pasty. And from New Jersey, we ended up looking at the Italian tomato pie, which I wasn't sure how that would be, and it was absolutely good. My husband loved it. My family gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So you'll be able to see these from the different blog posts I've got for you. That was the hardest of them, the nachitoses. I think that's the way you say it. But what I also enjoyed was discovering new things. There were some pies I had never heard of. I mean, I didn't know there was a biscuit and gravy pie. But I'm here to tell you that the West Virginia biscuit and gravy pie was awesome, and it's great for breakfast, and it's great for dinner. And I was floored by it. I did not know before we went on this journey. I had never heard of maple cream pie from Vermont, but oh, that was yummy. We explored some different things that I wasn't so fond of, but we had to do it. When you're on a pie journey and you come across an unusual pie, you have to do it, right? And living in the state of California, I know that we are just this mecca for all sorts of different cultures, everybody in the U.S. We have, representatives from every state in the United States in California. And so you could pick a pie, and I'm sure it could be a California pie. But what I ended up doing, and I have mixed feelings because it was my least favorite of the pies, but it wasn't a bad pie. And I think it's an interesting experience to go through, especially for my kids and helping them to be brave. We had avocado pie. When you think of avocados, there's only a couple states that could possibly be the ones you think of. And California was the one that I was trying to figure out a pie for. Avocado pie just screamed out. I found the recipe from the avocado growers in California, so it seemed logical. But to be fair, it ended up tasting a lot like a lemon cream pie. And I get that that's weird. It was weird to me. I'm here to tell you it was tasty in its own way, but not my favorite. Now, ironically, I came across a recipe for cantaloupe pie, and I would say I'm mediocre on my views of cantaloupe. I like it. I think of it as a breakfast food. I had never before cooked it. And here I came across this recipe for cantaloupe pie from the state of Colorado. And I was just pure old-fashioned curious. So had to make it, had to try it. And it was awesome. It was such an unusual flavor. To this day, I have now remade it, I think, 3 times since doing the pies. And I will do it again because it was just so unusual and I loved it. Now, as we're going through this, of course, this is the Bible Momming Podcast, and I want to make sure that you understand that what we were doing here is we're trying to seek to understand other people. We're trying to seek to understand who is in our country and where they come from. And, my daughter learned things about how as we're going through West Virginia and we're doing peanut butter cream pie, she's connected to the idea of peanuts in West Virginia. Or as we were looking at, of course, she was very clear on Georgia peach, right? We even learned that about the German community in North Dakota as we were making peach kuchen pie, which is like cake pie. And we ended up using it as a breakfast food because it was sweetened with honey for our version. But every time I have these recipes, I give you links to the recipes that are the full sugar version as well as what I created without that. It's been an amazing journey as we were trying to understand this stuff. One of the things I want you to know, this is part of our way of sharing and being a biblical family. I look at 1 Corinthians 10:31, and it says, "So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the glory of God." And one of the things that we were doing is we were just fascinated by the communities we were learning about. We were learning about different fun facts from the various states, and it was fun to learn. As I think about it, I think about Nehemiah when he came back, and he was saying to Israel, he was celebrating what they were doing. He says, "Go and enjoy choice food and sweet drinks, and send some to those who have nothing prepared. This day is holy to our Lord. Do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength." And so eating foods that are celebratory foods like pies, this is something that is part of the human experience, and the Bible doesn't ignore the human experience. The Bible is actually kind of giving insight to the human experience. So as you get a chance to look at these recipes, I hope you enjoy them. I hope you use some of them for the holidays. Who knows, maybe you'll end up making next summer a snickerdoodle ice cream pie, which is completely our invention because we couldn't figure out a pie for Connecticut. But I hope that you enjoy these. This is our little contribution to the celebration you have in your home. If you find these recipes valuable, please comment on them. Share what you do different. I'd love to see, even on Facebook or something like that, tag me. On Instagram, tag me. I'd love to see pictures of your pies. Maybe yours turn out better than mine, because my pictures are, it was just us going, hey, let's take a picture. But I had so much fun between the s'mores pie from Iowa and the Mississippi mud pie and just so many amazing things. There are a couple pies in there that aren't actually pies because they have their own expression that they have in their community. I mean, we had a Boston cream pie. Apparently, in the time frame when the Boston cream pie was in fact invented, all desserts were called pies. And so the Boston cream pie was just a way of saying it was a dessert. But we ended up getting that as a part of this just because, well, how could you ignore, if you're doing Massachusetts, how can you ignore the Boston cream pie? Or whoopie pies. Whoopie pies are in fact not really pies, but they are called whoopie pies. And they are very, very, very popular in the state of Maine. And so, of course, we had to do whoopie pies. I just want to encourage you, if you see a pie for a state that you're from or where you've been in part of your life, and you feel like, Paula, that is not the right pie for my state, feel free to let me know, because this was just our experiment as we were trying to reach out and understand the rest of our country through food. And I hope you enjoy it. If this is helpful to you, make sure to tell a friend, share it with somebody who you think would like to know about all these pies. Also, make sure that you go by the BibleMomming.com website, BibleMomming.com. That's BibleMomming.com. If you want to read any of these recipes and have them for yourself, while you're there, join the newsletter, because that's where you get to find out all about what's happening in the Bible Momming community and all sorts of different opportunities that we have where I'm speaking, as well as Bible Momming chats that we have. I've enjoyed this time we have together. I know you have plenty of things to do and many options, so thank you for listening. Remember, love is patient, love is kind, and that is never more real than in our families. God bless you and have a great week.